Hi, this is Randall here in Michigan.
And I'm Matt here in Michigan. Today, Randall and I are doing a new movie review. Woo woo.
Yes.
We're checking out a monster fighting movie, Godzilla Vs Kong. It stars Alexander Skarsgård, Millie Bobby Brown, Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, and Kaylee Hoddle in her feature film debut. It is directed by Adam Wingard. He is one of the directors of VHS and VHS 2. Now, if you like this review, be sure to give us a thumbs up. Also, be sure to hit subscribe and ring that bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Godzilla vs. Kong picks up about 5 years after Godzilla, King of the Monsters. This movie pits the two iconic movie monsters against one another in a big screen showdown. It has an estimated $200 million budget, and at the time of this recording, has earned more than $132 million worldwide. In the US, it's being shown in select theaters, but is available for streaming on HBO Max. So far, this movie has received above average reviews from critics and better reviews from audiences. Matt, we just got to watch this last night. It's a different kind of film, I think, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, it definitely is a different kind of film, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit disappointed with this film. Granted, the last one we saw, Godzilla King of the Monsters, I was really disappointed about that film, so I guess I'm not quite as disappointed about this film as I was that one. But, the market and everything was really, build up for this big monster battle, and it didn't really hold up as much for me. And there's other parts of the movies that didn't hold up as well either.
Where have we seen that before? What major studio would do that?
Alright, what did you think about this?
I think it's a waste of film. The biggest thing about this film is, first of all, Godzilla vs. Kong.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're going to get into spoilers later because there's just no way. I mean, this is a new movie, but there's so much to really unfold here.
So this is your warning. We got our generals out of the way. So now if you haven't seen the movie, you've seen that part, you can go watch the movie. But now Randall and I are going to get into the nitty gritty. There's
not enough Godzilla vs. Kong.
Mm-hmm.
The setup for the Godzilla vs. Kong fight is stupid. It's just there. I wouldn't say that maybe the setup is as bad as it could be, but the way it unfolds is really bad. The reveal was obviously pointless. We already know more or less through spoilers what's going to happen. And if you were watching the trailers, this is just like Crimson Peak. I know that's my go-to, where it's like the trailer told me it was a horror film, and this trailer told me it was Kong versus Godzilla, and then you're just like, well, what else is going on here? I did not like this film at all.
Now, one of the things we were trying to point at a little bit, there is storyline to this movie that you wouldn't know at all from getting to the trailers. And Randall and I kind of joked while watching this film, is like, well, we understand why they didn't have that in the trailers, and it wasn't to give away. It's because it really isn't all that great a story, at least not in my opinion. I don't know about you, Randall. I wasn't a big fan of the story at all.
I mean, the Monsterverse has just ebbed and flowed so much in its, quality of how it treats the humans in the stories, and this one is the worst of the bunch. Because, the thing about any decent movie is you do have to have some human characterizations. James Cameron is pretty famous for this. Like, he goes, okay, well, someone asked him, well, why do the Na'vi have breasts? It's like, well, because people care.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie for humans. And it's like, okay, even though they're aliens, you're making a movie for humans. It's the same here. I don't care about any of the characters. There's maybe one. And all of the other characters are just there. Yep. And they're just along for the ride because the script says they have to, or maybe there was contractual obligations. I don't know that for a fact. You don't care about any of the humans in this.
I agree. And, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, my big thing is, like, hey, when they're fighting, it's, okay, it can be enjoyable for parts, at least for me, but as soon as the humans spoke at any time, I'm just like, nope, don't care, don't like this isn't enjoyable. This isn't quite as bad, I don't think, as that. It's not necessarily what they're saying that's bad, it's just that I don't care. I don't really care about anything that's going on with any of this, and it's what we were talking about. We don't see enough Godzilla vs. Kong. I mean, I was looking at one time, it's, we're going through a whole bunch of storyline, like a half an hour into this almost 2-hour movie. And I'm like, I don't care about any of this stuff. Bring what you were showing me. I want the prize fight, I want the two iconic movie monsters going at it. And we get, what, two maybe? We get one on, like, the boat, and then we get the other one in kind of like Hong Kong. I really think that the Godzilla Kong fights were a little bit disappointing. There is one fight that I think was a bit better, and that's when we get to... What do we get to, Randall? What do we have to fight?
Robot Godzilla.
Yeah.
No, that's Mecha Godzilla.
Oh man, I don't know if there's anything in that movie that made me cringe more than that. No, that's Mecha Godzilla.
That's Mecha Godzilla. They had to like put that in there. It's kind of one of those things like, hey, yeah, we know what it is. It's not Robot Godzilla. We know what it is.
Yeah. So part of my problem with this film, and we talked a little bit off camera about if you just shut your brain off. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no. This is a film in a series. The Monsterverse is a series. If you go back and watch the original Godzilla from 2014, that's part of this Monsterverse. You can't turn your brain off for that. There's a lot. There's actually a plot going on and human characters that you can kind of sort of care about a little bit, even though if one of them dies very early on, also crap marketing. Then you have Kong Skull Island, where there's a huge plot with humans. They're a big part of it. Kong's kind of like there, but like they're doing their thing, and that's the biggest part of the story is actually the human plot. And they're more or less serious. You can't turn your brain off for it, or else you won't be able to follow the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
King of Monsters is just a bad film. It adds complexity to a storyline that didn't need it, basically.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue about that because I think that was my most disappointing film of, 2019 or whatever? Yeah.
But this one, I think to enjoy it, you're right. You would have to almost just sit back, relax, and be like, yeah, I'm just going to watch this and not care. I don't want to just turn my brain off. I come in to expect something. Like I go in to expect a Marvel film. I expect a certain something out of that Marvel film.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to feel like a Marvel film, basically. Little bit here, a little bit there, but this film for me completely missed the mark.
Now, another thing too about like the humans, the acting in this is not bad. We have good actors, and they're acting pretty well. It's just that I don't actually care about anything that they're doing in this film, and I think that's pretty sad. Like we have Millie Bobby Brown and stuff, and she's with the conspiracy theorists, and she has her friend.
Everybody here's a conspiracy theory.
Pepe Sylvia. I look in the mail. Well, this whole box is Pepe Sylvia.
And you know what? It's okay. I mean, they're showing us a little bit of the workings of like Apex, even though I don't know if it's really needed. But granted, if you want like the everyday person to like learn about that story, I guess you can go through that. Then just have like the execs talk and show you, hey, we're building Mecha Godzilla or whatever. Yeah. But me, I didn't really care about that storyline as much. I think to me it's kind of like added to be like a Godzilla side. And then we have our King Kong side.
It's just beyond stupid. Okay. They break into this Apex facility with no effort. I'm like, there is no security at all. I mean, again, you would literally have to be like, switch. Oh, they're there.
But that's the sad thing too, is normally you switch off your head for like movies that you switch off your head for. It's like to enjoy kind of like action movies and stuff. But yeah, this one, there's so much of this other story stuff that I don't care about. Like, am I just like twiddling my thumbs during that whole time, waiting for the good stuff to actually come out?
Waiting for the good stuff. Yes, absolutely.
Now, I will say there is a character dynamic that I did enjoy with this. Kaylee Hoddles, like she does excellent. For anyone who doesn't know, she's a deaf actor. And she does an amazing job. I feel like the only relationship that you really care about this is like her relationship with Kong. I think they did that really well. And I think that's probably, if that's just the focus and going with that, I think it's a decent driving force. But all the other stuff about going to Hollow Earth and searching for energy so that we can find out how to recreate the energy so we can put it into Mecha Godzilla and stuff. Like, I don't care about any of that stuff.
I didn't want to get into Hollow Earth yet, but here.
It's out there, Hollow Earth.
They kind of allude to Hollow Earth theory a little bit in Skull Island, where it's like, hey, where these monsters can kind of come up. There's like a path or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so why are we going to Antarctica then to get to Hollow Earth? If you think you can get to Hollow Earth from Skull Island,
maybe it's the easiest way to get there. I don't know. That's a good question.
I agree with Matt wholeheartedly. The one single character that you care about and the relationship you care about is this little girl played by Hoddle and Kong. They have a special thing. The storyline is extremely like glossed over. You know, blink and you miss it. Where during King of the Monsters something happened and the island's inhabitants are all wiped out except for Kong saved her, and I'm like, oh well, that's convenient to the story.
Randall's actually pointing to me. He's like, Matt, listen to this. I'm like, Randall, I don't care. I really don't care at this point. Like, yes, I understand, and yes, a little background, I get a gist of what they're saying, but honestly, I'm not really paying too much attention to the details of it.
No. I mean, it only matters if you've seen and care about Kong Skull Island, I guess. Like, if you haven't, then nah. But then her character doesn't make much sense to you anyways. You're just like, it's a little girl. She's deaf and she has a relationship with Kong.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I'll say about this, I wasn't too particularly great with like the digital effects or whatever of this film. Some of the characters don't look all that great. It's actually one of the minor monsters that you see in Hollow Earth that I was pointing out like for a split second. I'm like, hey, this might be like the best rendering or whatever that we have in this entire film right here. And they're like, oh, and there it went, kind of thing. And it's over. But honestly, I was thinking there's time like, you know what, this would have been okay as like an animated film kind of thing.
Yeah.
It would kind of fit a bit more of that in. Most of the stuff is, computer generated in this movie anyways, so having it be an animated film probably wouldn't have been all that bad.
It might have been better. It wouldn't have fit with the rest of the MonsterVerse, but who cares because it doesn't already anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I did think when we got to the Hollow Earth stuff, I thought to myself, this is my one-liner for this film was, when does Brendan Fraser show up? Like, the fact that they give, like, conspiracy theorists, like, full reign that everything could potentially be true, I'm not okay with that either. I'm like, I can stretch my brain so far. It's like giant monsters, hiding among us, hibernating. We just don't know it. Blah blah blah. They're whatever. But then you're just like, oh, Hollow Earth's also real, like really real. And there's an energy source down there that when we analyze it, we can download the analysis and then create it.
Well, it's kind of interesting they're actually able to communicate from, like, Hollow Earth to, Hong Kong or wherever
People
they're
have
building.
no respect for how big the Earth is. Mm-hmm. We can barely get Wi-Fi signals between, one house to another.
Mm-hmm.
Stop it!
Yeah, a lot of this, I don't think it really cares about science, doesn't really care too much about physics, it's just, that thing you have to, like, completely, like, hey, yeah, they can do it. Yeah, they can do that. Yeah, that's how things work in this world.
I'm so happy you talked about physics. Because he's 100% right. This is my I hate monster movies most of the time, okay?
I don't know you!
Occasionally you meet a nice one, like Cloverfield. Mm-hmm. And even him, the problem with him is physics. Godzilla and Kong, they can go after each other and they can beat each other. Like Godzilla can physically crush Kong,
They can scratch each other.
They can scratch each other and everything. But our missiles are completely ineffective. Get the out of here.
Well, that's another thing too with like Kong. He's covered in like hair. So you think if like fire's around, like his hair would get singed or something. Well, he does catch on fire
in Kong Skull Island.
But like this movie though, I don't think. I mean, he gets hit with stuff. I don't think anything gets singed or anything in this movie.
Yeah, I hate monster movies specifically because they throw physics out the window. Like that's part of what makes Pacific Rim work for me was that physics still exists. Like tanks and missiles and everything will eventually take a kaiju down, but they take a lot of damage, and I'm okay with that. Like. Okay, so our missiles are small in comparison to their considerable bulk, or maybe they have armor plating or whatever. Fine. But they still work eventually. In this, it's just like, it doesn't matter. Godzilla and Kong go after each other. Kong goes after him with a superpowered axe, which is not really a spoiler because it's in the trailer. Then he can do some serious damage, and I'm like, well, if Kong swinging an axe can do damage, even if it's a superpowered axe, then our regular munitions should work. We should be able to do something against them.
And I think a lot of the fight, because we're talking about, like using the axe and everything, a lot of like, this is building up for the big fight, Kong versus Godzilla, or at least it's supposed to be. It's actually building up to Mechagodzilla. But anyways, that's a big fight.
Maybe they should have marketed that.
Maybe they should have marketed that. Hey, I don't think that would have been too bad a spoiler. No, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. A lot of the actual fight, it's kind of like telegraphed or what's actually going to happen. Like, Randall and I, we were like, oh, this is what's going to happen coming up. And it would happen. And then the other person would be like, oh, this is what's going to happen. I'm like, I think you're right. That's exactly what's going to happen. And sure enough, it happens kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, the whole, charging the axe and, throwing in. It's like, yeah, that's got to be what happens on this.
Like, Mechagodzilla, I mean, that was super, not the worst kept secret, basically. Oh, there's a flash of Mechagodzilla. He's going to be in this film. Okay, fine. No problem. I like Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla's fine. Don't hate me. But then near the end, they're having all this trouble with him. Neither one of them is obviously strong enough to defeat Mechagodzilla by themselves. So they have to team up. That's fine. That's very normal. I think we've seen that in a movie before.
But it was missing what part? What were we missing in this one movie that we had in the other movie?
Mothra.
We should have Mothra. Mothra should have came. It should have been our Wonder Woman.
Mothra sacrificed himself to save Kong last time. But, maybe there's another one out there.
I mean, we do have a moment when Godzilla and Kong are fighting each other and they're looking at each other and stuff. I mean, they could have saved Mothra.
Could have saved Mothra. Well, anyways, back on topic, is that they're battling Mechagodzilla together, and then it's just like, okay, we need to end the movie. And then Mechagodzilla is just dispatched, like, super fast. It's like, oh, snap, there goes a limb, there goes a tail, there goes his mouth, and all right, done. Because at that point, they're not even really working together. At that point, Kong just handles it. It's like, all right, you've charged up the power axe and slice him up.
Slice him up. Take off that head. It actually was a decent shot or whatever. I did like that with the holding up the head or whatever with the oil or coming out. It was a decent shot.
That was decent. That was pretty cool. I just like, man, he was like super powered Mechagodzilla. Everything was going against them, and then it's just like, you know what? The runtime's getting a bit long here, so I guess end it.
End it. Yep. This is the time.
I didn't like this movie.
Yeah. I don't think I hated it as much as, Godzilla King of the Monsters, but it's not much better.
See, well,
maybe a hair better.
The thing is, like, for my conclusion, I will say Godzilla King of the Monsters is a bad movie. But I didn't groan at it through the entire thing. I was just like, oh, that's dumb. Like, okay, that's just, you're asking too much. This one is just, for me, they have hovercrafts now. When did that happen? Why do I care about these new characters? Why do we need new characters? Why is there so much human? Like, everything about this one bothered me, pretty much. Except for the little girl.
Except for the little girl, which is actually really good.
Really well done.
I think my biggest problem with it is I didn't care about what was going on in this film. Like, the story, everything's going on. It's all about these monsters fighting, and it's very, I think, small part of the film.
Very small part.
And I think that was probably the most disappointing for me kind of thing.
Well, we have lots of stuff on our YouTube page, including other new movie reviews, flashback reviews, TV series reviews, and some deeper conversations with our call-up episodes. So make sure to check those out. We also
have a Facebook page.
Yeah.
There we will post a day before our videos come out to tell you what the next topic is going to be. We have new videos that come out every Monday and Thursday. For now, I'm Matt here in Michigan. Have a good day.
And I'm Randall here in Michigan. Soon to be back in Texas, though. I'll see everyone next time.
Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.